Welcome back to the channel. Let's get into a spoiler-free movie review. I want to talk about Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. The modern war film is one of my favorite genres if you get it right. Did Guy Ritchie get it right? Did Jake Gyllenhaal prove to me yet again that he is one of Hollywood's most underrated and versatile actors in the entire game? He's done the war movie before. Can he do it again? Before we get into my full thoughts on The Covenant, here is just a little bit of the trailer.
For 3 weeks, this family believed you were dead. We owe that man your life.
There wasn't enough for him to carry me across those mountains. Now he's hiding in a hole somewhere. I should be in that hole.
There is a hook in me. Ahmed and his family are in trouble.
We can't intervene.
I am gonna have to get him out myself.
So what The Covenant is about, Jake Gyllenhaal plays a sergeant named John Kinley. He goes into the Afghanistan war and he needs a new interpreter after one of theirs gets killed in battle. So they hire a new guy named Ahmed, played by Dar Salim, and they are going on this mission to track down these IED factories to shut them down. And that is just Jake Gyllenhaal's character's mission. But I felt like it was kind of hard to get a grasp on his character. Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Or is he just a person who has a range of different emotions? It was hard for me to really kind of hone in on what his character was all about. So I needed a little bit more backstory on him. So I love the modern war movie because usually they are based on a true story, either one or a group of soldiers who have been in the Afghanistan war and just tell it scene for scene exactly what happened. Sometimes you embellish a little bit for Hollywood, but for the most part, a lot of my favorite modern war movies are just true stories. The Covenant is different because it's not based on one actual true story. It's a culmination of a lot of different stories from interpreters in the Afghanistan war. So I felt like that hurt the movie a little bit because if you're going to make a movie about a fictional soldier, I feel like you really got to hone in on what his personality is, what his mission statement is, and really just create his fibers as a human being to really make that resonate with audiences. I really didn't get that from Jake Gyllenhaal's character. Now, he's a very versatile actor, and he plays the soldier role really well. We also saw it in Jarhead. Whether he is in his full military uniform or just in a baseball cap with his beard, he looks the part. And the thing about Jake Gyllenhaal is he is able to go to places that I don't really see other actors go into so quickly. He goes from just being a normal person to having this fit of rage that sometimes makes me question exactly where does he go in his mind, because he's able to have this ability to just kind of freak out as a character, and we see that in this movie. We've seen that in a lot of his other movies. I think my favorite one where he does that is probably Nightcrawler, one of his most underappreciated roles. So we saw a little bit of it in this movie, but I almost feel like it didn't really make sense in this scenario. I almost feel like they got this movie wrong on who it's supposed to be about. I really think this movie would have been a lot stronger if it would have just focused on the story of Ahmed. That is what I was drawn to personally, because I think that was the overall message of this story, is all the things that the interpreters in the Afghanistan war had to go through, all the things they sacrificed to help the United States. And this story in particular shows Ahmed and his incredible bravery to save John Kinley and put his own life in danger to get Sergeant Kinley out of harm's way. So I feel like overall it would have been a better movie to just focus on his story, but I guess that would have been a harder movie to sell. And when you have Jake Gyllenhaal as the star, so I feel like the focus on his character and what his character goes through wasn't as impactful to me as what Ahmed's character goes through in this entire movie. So would have just been stronger if they'd have focused more on Ahmed, because in that second act, it proved to be the best out of the entire movie. So for that reason, I felt like the tone was off a little bit in the beginning of the movie. It felt a little bit too over dramatic, which I think when it comes to a war movie, it's better to be over dramatic than under dramatic and not create any kind of sense of urgency, any kind of sense of, oh, things are about to go wrong. And that is exactly what this movie does. It creates a lot of anxiety. If you like going into a movie and being on the edge of your seat, having your stomach in knots, this is the movie for you. You're always kind of like on edge, thinking, oh, what's going to happen next? Is something really awful going to happen? I love the tension that this movie created, and also just the overall cinematography that helped me really put myself into a position that I was there in Afghanistan with these soldiers. I loved all the drone shots of the mountains. I was able to, as a viewer, feel the heat of this movie and what it would be like to be walking alone in this desert trying to survive. It was like the set was living and breathing. So I felt like Guy Ritchie did a really good job in getting that tone correct, especially when it came to the lighting and the coloring of this movie. Sometimes you can go a little bit too green and dark in a war movie, but I felt like this one had it just right. Some nice mid-tones, and the night scenes didn't feel washed out, like you weren't able to see everything going on screen. So overall, visually, I thought it was really well done. And also, when movies like this just go straight into the action, I have to give them a lot of praise. Usually those first 20 minutes are crucial, and this one got to the action pretty quickly. But what I felt like this movie needed was a little bit more backstory. I think if it would have went head on, just like it did with all the action, and then gave us a little bit of a peek into Ahmed and Sergeant Kinley's lives through flashbacks, it really would have helped me get a little bit more emotionally invested in these characters. So I just felt like the writing was a little bit unhinged when it came to character development. Again, if you're not basing them on actual people, you really need to drive home all the characteristics of our characters and get us wanting to root for them so much. And this one just didn't quite get there. And it's inside of a genre that I really love, the modern war film. I think my favorite theater experiences have been in movies like this: Zero Dark 30, The Hurt Locker, Lone Survivor, American Sniper. These are some of the best movie theater experiences I've had in the last 15 to 20 years. So where I would put The Covenant in relation to those other movies, it would be at the bottom of those movies. Still a fun movie theater experience. It still gave me that anxiety. I just really feel like I didn't get the Guy Ritchie grit in this movie, and some of the scenes where they were really trying to show the courageous efforts from both of these characters really just played out more like a folk story. The interesting thing about this movie is they used no real guns in the movie, and I feel like I couldn't even tell as a viewer. They didn't even shoot the thing in Afghanistan, obviously. They shot it in Spain. Couldn't tell that either. Without Jake Gyllenhaal, this movie probably wouldn't have had my interest as much as it did, but I feel like Dar Salim really stepped up as being the real star in this movie. His character story was really the most impactful and really was the main message this movie was trying to make. So if it was going up that hill, it would be like almost there in that 4 category, but for The Covenant, I would give it 3.5 out of 5 rescue missions.